Dumela, Saubona, Sakpase, Namaste, Obshin, Dubra Otra, Assalamu alaikum, Hotel, Buenas noches, bonsoir. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is season 3, episode 1. Welcome to another year. We're back, we're back, we're back. My name is Doriel Inez Larrier. If you do not know who I am the CEO of Learn to Grow You LLC. Let me say that again. Learn to Grow You LLC. We have leveled up and we are back even better. Tonight, I am not only excited to be a representative of Learn to Grow You LLC, but as well, I am the section president for the National Council of Negro Women Flatbush section. And so I'm very thrilled to stand here, or sit here in this amazing seat to represent that organization as well. And this is a partnership with my organization because it has to do with one of the pillars that NCNW discusses and is a focus for us, and that is mothers and families. In that light, we are partnering with a federal agency called Good Health Wins. And Good Health Wins is an advocacy and awareness program or project that has to do with spreading the awareness of health and wellness through making sure that you are safe and you're well in these very interesting times. And so I have invited to our seat right here an amazing person who does that, who fits that bill, who takes care of people who become mothers, people who are doing the mothering job, people who are living and loving their children from today, tomorrow, and ad infinitum. And that is none other than Jaye Wilson of Melinated Moms.
Hi, good evening. I'm so excited to be here.
Welcome, Miss Jaye. Welcome, Miss Jaye.
Thank you.
This is a long time coming. How are you?
I'm well. I'm well. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. So, I have to start out by telling people how we actually met. So last year, so 2022. Oh my gosh, I was about to say 2021 because I'm thinking I'm in 22.
I know.
So last year, I was invited to shout out to Aisha Taylor Issa, who is the president and CEO of Sisters in Business. And our dear sister Aisha had her first mompreneur brunch.
Mhm.
Mompreneur Brunch. And it was an amazing, amazing collaboration of mothers who were entrepreneurs and just an opportunity to support each other and to lift each other up and to have a moment to get some encouragement. Of course, there's always a little networking, but the people that were on the stage who were giving that inspiration, she was one of them. She was one of them. And so I was very captivated by her story. And I just wanted the people, again, who I speak to, chat with, chill will, lean back with. And I just wanted people to know who Jaye is and how she shines and how she inspires people to live their lives, as I say, a little better than they did yesterday. And so I wanted Jaye Wilson to share Melanated Moms with you all. So we're going to get into this conversation. Now, I have to say that Jaye got up on the stage and she was given an award and she was bawling. And I was trying to figure out, why is she bawling? Of course, it's very beautiful to be recognized, but I was like, she was like heaving. So I was like, I have got to meet this woman. I got to find out what's the tea? What's the tea?
I don't know.
Right. I looked her up and I said, oh, yes. And I did what I usually do. I said, hey, I got a show. Can you come on and chat with me? She said, yes. So initially, this conversation was supposed to happen sort of like in the fall. And as life would happen and as our schedules, we're here and there, we're flying here and there. I'm so glad to begin season 3 with you.
Thank you. I'm so
Ah,
excited.
So on behalf of National Council of Negro Women, Flatbush section, where we empower women, we advocate for families and Good Health Wins. We're going to talk about health and motherhood in this conversation. Melanated Moms, how in the world did you even get started with this? I know a little bit, but I want the audience to hear it.
Yeah. So again, thank you so much for having me. It has been a long time coming, but I'm glad that we are here today. So Melinated Moms, honestly, it started as just an idea to find a community for myself and my children. I went through a transition where I was going through a divorce, and became a single solo mom. So I had to learn how to navigate these new spaces by myself with my two children. At the time, my girls were, I think, 7 and 4 or something like that. And I didn't know what I didn't know, right? So I originally started on the app called Meetup, just hosting
I
small mini
remember.
meetup groups. Yeah. And I will have moms come. We'll do little things, go to a trampoline park. We did like some science experiments, just hanging out at a regular park, doing picnics and things like that. And I started to notice not only were the same moms coming, but they were bringing friends and they were bringing extra kids and all that. So I'm like, oh, okay, it's catching on. It's really nice. Excuse me. So I started asking the moms questions like, as much as I appreciate you being here, what brings you back?
Okay.
What about this group stands out to you to make you feel that this is a part of your community? And I got a very interesting answer that I was not expecting. They told me, you give us a safe space to express ourselves and to be seen. You also advocate for things that moms need. And one of the questions I never even noticed that I was asking repetitively is like, how are you feeling? And how can I find a way to give you the support that you need? Or how can I support you? They're like, no one ever asks those questions. They're always, especially for moms of color, particularly Black moms, we're known to just put it all on our back.
Let me take my first sip.
Go ahead, sip it up. you know, you can't ask questions. You can't show emotion. You can't break down. You didn't give us. You didn't give us that energy. Like we walked in here as this is a sisterhood, and I was like,
That's
oh
nice.
wow, thank you, because and it made me happy because that's what it was that I was looking for, right? But another thing that they told me is I created an advocacy space. So once I learned that, I'm like, well, talk to me more about what does that mean and how am I showing moms how to advocate, right? So we started to connect with doulas and we started to connect with midwives and different people in the birth work space. And I started to learn more about how a lot of women who look like us have gone through a lot of traumatic births, a lot of fear. And again, I got to learn how to tell my own story behind my own births. So, I have two young girls. My girls now are 11 and 14. But prior to giving birth to them, I had 2 losses. And I didn't know that my experiences with loss was a commonality for Black women until I started to talk and until I started to ask these questions. And we held our first really successful event. I think it was May 2018. And we did a panel. It was called Childbirthing in Communities of Color. And we pre-screened a really amazing documentary called Death by Delivery. And in this documentary, we learn more about the Black maternal health crisis and how it impacts Black women, not just, in the city or wherever, but on a national scale. So from that conversation, we had this amazing panel. We had maybe like 30 or 40 people there in person. Obviously, it's pre-COVID. Somebody from the governor's office of New Jersey, they were there and they were like, this was very well attended. Our original plan was to be there for 90 minutes. We were there for 4 hours. And it was like, the governor has this new initiative called Nurture New Jersey, and we think that you would be a really good fit to be a part of it. Would you be interested?
Wow.
So from there, it's just kind of like we took off. So I'm just very grateful to be a part of this journey.
So at that point, were you still were you acting in a role as a medical professional?
Yes. So my background is in nursing. I've been an LPN for almost 20 years. I've always worked in community health. It's always been a passion of mine. I used to work for a community health center in New York City that catered to the LGBT community, and just learning more about how inequities show up in the ways that marginalization comes, like those two things intersect, it made me realize how that also relates to motherhood and how it relates to maternal health. So a lot of the concepts and progressive healthcare skills that I learned in that space, I've applied in the work that we do here at Melinated Moms.
Okay, so you stepped out, you connected with a couple of moms, and then it grew and grew. Somebody took notice and said, "Hey, you got to see this." That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And so, I almost kind of want to ask, don't want to ask, are you still an LPN?
I am. I mean, so I feel like nursing is one of those things like blood in, blood out. You don't ever stop being a nurse. But
I'm sorry, I've never heard that phrase, blood in, blood out.
oh, blood in, blood out. Yeah, it's like you jumped in, you never go out, you never go away from being a nurse.
Okay.
But I'm working full time as the CEO of my company. I still work per diem here and there as a nurse. I love it. It is an amazing profession. It's awarded me and afforded me so many different opportunities. But Melinated Moms keep me busy, child. I'll be out here.
No, look, what we met about 8 months ago.
I'm telling you, it'd be a lot. It'd be so many things. And I'm grateful. Like, I'm very grateful for the opportunities that Melinated Moms has opened up for me. And even continuing to open up for me. But I think the most impactful thing is being able to see the moms and women and birthing people that we've been able to connect with in the past 5 years, and how much they have been able to blossom from becoming, a small seed of a person and now these beautiful flowers. So I always make like reference to like growth and, cultivation and things, but it's a real thing, right? A lot of people say it takes a village to raise a child, but it takes a village to raise a mom too,
So actually, when I typed the, I think one of the posts for this, and I didn't know that you used that phrase, but within motherhood journey and children raising, I'm an educator, and so we use the same phrase. And so my hands just kept going, and I said, okay, it may take a village to raise a child, but it takes layers of community to support mothers, and so. Right. Great minds think alike. High five in the sky.
Wow.
Excellent. Excellent. So then some of the things that you do as a mom prophet, and I love the phrase mom prophet. I definitely want to hear more because, I would think my first thought is, oh, that's nice. I guess it's like nonprofit, You have, people who maybe donate and you have to do these events. But when I asked before, you were like, no, this is for profit. So tell me more about that.
Yes. So this actually came from getting feedback from the moms that we support. We have the misconception that we are a nonprofit because we work in the community and for the community, right? But we really want to put forth the feeling of women empowerment. So in order for us to empower our women, we wanted to empower ourselves. So we wanted to learn more about how to build an organization that has a structure of like business savviness, ownership, legacy, wealth building, and all the like, right? Nothing wrong with nonprofits. They're absolutely amazing. But it no longer belongs to you. It belongs to the public. It belongs to your board, right? So for me, I'm about building generational wealth and legacy. So the work that I'm doing here is what I'm putting in place for my children so that they can understand what we've built is it's a long-standing thing. Melinated Moms is going to outlive me 10 times over, right? But I don't want to give it away. I want us to show moms how to create more opportunities for themselves, how to be the profitable person that they can be, how to become a better version of themselves, right? So that's why we came up with the term mom profit as opposed to nonprofit, right? So one of our moms, like I was saying earlier, one of our moms told us, like, you do so many things for us and help us find things and resources and things like that, but I don't want to feel like you're doing that just out of charity, right? Because we know when we see nonprofits or when we see different organizations that primarily rely on donations or grant funds, sometimes they're not sustainable. So we wanted to make sure that we had a sustainability model within the work that we do so that we can continue to thrive. So we've been able to create really great partnerships and really amazing relationships with philanthropic organizations, with for-profit organizations, with corporations that can help us to do the work that we need to do, also supporting the moms and women and birthing people that are part of our community, but also have that business structure that helps us to grow. And every single year for the past 3 years now, we've been able to double, almost triple our revenue. So it's So we have really great goals, and we're able to see it come to fruition because we're diversifying the way that we receive funding. We're diversifying the way that we deliver service. And we're learning more about how our business is touching people, not just on the state and the local level, but also on a national and international level. So all of that takes ingenuity and learning how to put your entrepreneurship hat on. Is way bigger than what a nonprofit can do.
It definitely sounds like that. I mean, it definitely sounds like that. So I'm thinking, let's say I'm going back to the meetup, and if maybe that was like 2017.
Yes, 2017.
And I only know that because I was at the library. I was at the museum somewhere during 2017, and I just, walking along, and I see this like group of people, but the group of people did not appear to be, let's say, like a group of friends. And I just sort of leaned and I was like, hi, like, what is this? He goes, oh, it's like meetup, people. And I was like, what is that? People just sort of like almost like events that you look on Facebook. You just sort of look and, going to an exhibit at the museum, and you just click. And I said, okay. So that's fascinating that you were able to start from this tiny seed, and now you're like a full-blown flower. So I think it is amazing that you're having mothers who probably in the past think that, as you talk about, just being pigeonholed,
right?
So that you have to choose motherhood, or you choose being an employer, or you choose being an entrepreneur, and that somehow the three cannot intertwine. But you're also saying, yes, you can be a mom, and you can, you don't have to sort of give all of your intellectual property away just because you're a nurturing mom, and quote unquote you may not necessarily be in the C-suite, right? Of a company. Let me tell you how. Let me show you how you can show up, get your shares, get some profits as well. And so it sounds like that's built into your model. How I know you have there's the mommyhood. That's fun. How do you couch that in coursework? So I'm hinting at the university. So tell us about this university.
Yes, it's funny too, because my youngest daughter, she is like my marketer. So all she does is talk about Melinated Moms University. But we created Melinated Moms University about, I think, 2 years ago. And everything has come organically. I definitely want to start with that. So it came from our moms asking different questions about, where do I find this resource, or how do I create a partnership, or where do I go to start becoming an entrepreneur? I don't know, like, what is the start space, right? So we had like a running list of FAQs, right? Frequently asked questions. And I'm like, I have an answer for these things. So I'm constantly like, hey, this is what you need to do. Here, send this, send that. I'm like, these would be really helpful as like classes or courses or workshops. And so actually we started piloting the workshops actually during COVID. So in 2020, when the world went on punishment, we had to fully
shut it down. Just shut it down.
Everybody had to pivot to being online.
No longer outside.
And I felt like I was on punishment for real. But we pivoted online. We started to host all of these really great conversations, and it was like COVID and something.
Right.
It was like COVID and co-parenting, COVID and what was the one? COVID and coping with kids. Like it was all of these really great discussions that moms were asking. Like, how do I find support, mental health support when I'm locked in the house with my kids? And I want to make sure that they're okay, but I'm not okay, right? So we had a therapist come on and talk to us about different coping mechanisms. For the COVID and co-parenting one, we had a family attorney come on and talk to us about visitation and how that was interrupted, and how there were all these different variations of how people were still able to have those relationships during the pandemic. They were really great conversations. Some of them you can we actually posted to our YouTube page, so I can share those with you. But all of those conversations.
Right. So actually, your YouTube page is?
My YouTube page is Melinated Moms. Melinated Moms. Everything Melinated Moms.
All right. So folks, anything and everything, yes. Melinated Moms. Beautiful. Yes. Okay.
So, from us hosting all of these conversations, and we did them monthly for quite a bit, we saw our engagement go up by 200%. So it was just like all of these people came out of nowhere asking more questions, asking, how can we have this be a part of what we do? Can you come and create a workshop for us? Do you have any trainings on maternal health? So yes, I'm like, okay, sure. Yeah, we do. Let's make one, right?
Give me a couple of days. I'll get right back.
That's it. Give me some, all I need is the internet, Canva, and some time, but we did it.
Canva made a lot of money off of us during these past 3 years.
Let me tell you. So very funny story. So one of our best and longest running programs is our advocacy training, which is called Find Your Roar. I created Find Your Roar a couple years ago, just as an idea for moms to learn how to get into public speaking. And we had one of our longest standing clients reach out to us, and they said, hey, do you have any type of training that we can help families or parents or individuals to get into public policy work? And I was like, yeah, we have Find Your Roar. They're like, okay, send it to us. So I'm like, all right, let's figure this out, right? So went on Canva, did the outline. I created the entire book on Canva, like the entire thing.
Shout out to Canva.
50 pages. We made it on Canva, and it started out just as an ebook. It was, I wrote it, but like it was very well delivered. We actually had it translated into Spanish as well. And we did our first 3 cohorts. We recruited over 100 people to do the training. It was great. And then it just kept going. So now we are in year, I think this is, started 2020, so 23. So now this is year 3 of us doing Find Your Roar. And we've trained, since then to date, we've trained over 1,000 people nationwide. And actually a couple people in the UK as well have signed on and taken the training. So we since then we've been able to publish it. So it's now an actual published book.
I love it.
It's awesome. I'm like, who did all this? We were able to create more opportunities to send our Find Your Roar graduates to state and federal conferences and campaigns. They've been in PSAs. They've all been able to utilize their experiences and talk to people who can create larger levels of change. So it's just really beautiful to see, again, just an idea about a frequently asked question, like, how do I find my voice as a mom? How do I talk about things that my family and my kids need? Who's going to listen to me? And we created a curriculum that has literally been funded more than 5 or 6 times now by larger organizations, Planned Parenthood, the March of Dimes, Prisker Children Initiative. Like all of these huge organizations have, really supported us being able to train families, train organizations now, and really like impact the people who really need the support, and also empower them with the voices that they already had, but they didn't know the power of it, right? So again, going back to that nonprofit of, empowering them to see how you can create all these different opportunities for yourself by just believing in the voice that you already have instilled in you, right? And your motherhood in itself, or your parenthood, is your superpower. That is the key to your advocacy, because whether you know it or not, when you're going through pregnancy, that is a form of advocacy, right? You're
It sure
changing your
is.
environment, you're changing the decisions that you make that are not just about you anymore. It's how can I create
A
a better,
tiny human.
exact, how can I create an entire human, and give them a better opportunity once they become Earthside, right? So giving people the voice to know how impactful that can be, it's been amazing. Yeah. I just went on a rant there. I'll take a sip of my tea.
Now, listen, I might as well just sit back. Go ahead. I'm sorry, don't spit. Don't spit. So you've definitely taken let's say the seat of power, right? And I'm actually now sort of going way back and thinking of the kings and queens who sit on their throne in Kemet in Egypt, and you're taking that seat of power and you're saying you can be mother and
Yes.
you don't have to put down one title in order to pick up another, or you don't
Yeah.
have to put everything down to be, and that's not just to be, but to be a mother. You can do that. And so we know, not even just in this country but worldwide, that there are lots of communities or ideas prior to, let's say, 50, 60 years ago, that when you became mother, and again, I'm an educator, so I was told when I started my training to become an educator that it, from the time that I started, it wasn't maybe 20, 30 years before that, maybe 40 years before, that if you were an educator and you became pregnant, you had to leave. You couldn't be pregnant
Wow.
and like be in the classroom. And I was thinking, what?
Wow.
Wait, what?
Wow.
What? So it's powerful that we have come, and this isn't necessarily a full circle, but that we've come so far to say that motherhood, yes, is a badge of honor, and you can do other things as well if that is what you're called to do, if
Right.
that is what you want to do. If you're running a business, even if you're in, let's say, you're the C-suite, I don't care if you run a flower shop or you want to run a Fortune 500 company, you still have a voice, and that voice needs to shine, and it's not um, quieted or squelched by the cries of your baby.
Yes. Yes. No, I love that, and I say something very similar. I don't believe in or, I believe in and. Right. So understanding the limitations that we put on ourselves, they start with us. So if you feel that you have to make only one choice, that is your feeling, right? But if you really want to learn more about how to expand yourself, you have to learn how to create harmony, right? It's not balance. Balance is like almost not a real thing. Like you cannot either be a mother or be a entrepreneur. Like I have to learn how to create harmony with both of those things, right? So right now I'm still mothering, right? I'm still
Because
living,
you,
I'm still
because you're given that eye.
right, like I right now, right? but I'm also teaching my kids that this is a part of life and this is how we evolve into being the next version of who we are, right? So this is the next phase of my motherhood. It's the next phase of their childhood as they learn how to grow into being the people who are going to take over my business at one point, right? So
That's right.
they have to learn that this is a normalized conversation. These are normalized behaviors, right? So I have to learn how to give them these skills. I have to know where to search for people who can help support me as I'm learning it myself, right? And that in itself creates harmony, right? So if we're leading with that type of conversation and we're leading with that type of energy, that's the way that we'll be able to remove those ors, right? Like maybe kind of sort of, or maybe if I did it this way, like take all those away, right? I call those buffer words. Take those buffer words away. I'm speaking with conviction. I'm putting out the energy that I'm trying to receive, and I'm doing the work, right? So anything that I put out, I want to make sure that it's reflected in the people that I'm also impacting.
That's what we're here to do. That's what we're here to do. To just the fact that you're creating legacy, in real time, that you're speaking to your children and you're saying, so, mommy's doing this now, you're going to be doing this in 10 years, whether or not you like it or not. But, you're also growing them
Mhm.
in the community so that they're familiar with the topics. And because they're girls,
Yeah.
right? At some point, if that is their choice, and they become, marital partners, they become uh, parents,
Mhm.
they will have the same type of conversations. They'll be engrossed in the same type of communities, and
Mhm.
knowing who the doulas are and the midwives are, and let's say the infant massage specialists are, and the child development specialists and such. Now we're getting into my world, and
Mhm.
the Montessori people and the learning pods and the homeschooling. About, like, come on, like, we can go. I can go for hours about
Oh
this.
yeah, early intervention. Let's keep going.
There
I
we
know
go.
exactly what you mean, right?
There we
I'll
go.
give you
Right.
an example. I have a mom that went through our she went through our program, our Find Your Word training, and she talked about how her daughter has partial hearing loss.
Mm,
And in her town, they would not they would not provide early intervention for her daughter to learn sign language because she wasn't fully deaf. So she was like, well, who's going to listen to me, and how am I going to advocate for my daughter in this space? So we talked about it, and we, did a scenario, and I'm like, well, if you understand that your daughter's partial hearing loss is creating more and more um, division in the way that she's able to interact with you and interact with the world, that's
right.
your story. That's the narrative. Go to your town meetings, talk to the PTA, talk to your mayor. All of these people can create those different levels of change. And she went and did that. And now her daughter has services, and they actually changed the way that people were able to access resources where she lives because she was able to speak up for that. Right. So it's no longer about you have to be fully deaf or
Right.
nothing. Right. She understood, like, there is a gray, there is an and, not even just a gray, but there is an and, like, deaf, fully deaf children and partially deaf children, they all need these services in order for them to adequately learn and grow and interact and communicate. Right. So her being able to find that voice for herself gave the voice to her daughter. And then it's going to continue to trickle down and again create legacy where she lives. So these are things that we don't always see in the immediate like immediately in front of us, but then when we talk about it and we talk through it, we realize, oh my gosh, this is a macro level change. But it starts with me. It starts with me understanding that I'm a part of the community that I'm trying to impact. So I have to step up and speak up and say it with my chest, right? So say it out loud.
Put
Yes,
your chest out.
it's just
Put those shoulders back.
that's it.
And up. I love it. I love it. The So let's sort of shift into the health and wellness portion. So we're talking about advocacy, we're talking about education, awareness. We talked about the entrepreneurship. Because you have a degree in medicine as an LPN, how has the shifted you from 3 years ago in adding the information about health, of physical health,
Oh
about
yeah.
how this global, shutdown has impacted our awareness of what we have to be mindful of, our awareness of how we have to make sure that we are protected as best as we can with the information that we have. Um, Everyone has had questions about, do I, should I, what is it about, what do I really do? Have you kept your medical hat on and provided your own opinion, supported people of, are they or aren't they going to? How have you supported that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for us, we learned how to incorporate the 6 dimensions of health and wellness into our 5 principles of engagement. So our 5 principles are health and wellness, excuse me, mommy and me bonding, family fitness, food and nutrition, and women empowerment. Right. So all of those 5 things are how we position the types of programs and services that we we create. But the first one, health and wellness, we wanted to take a deeper dive into what does it mean to be healthy and to be well. So we looked at a couple of different examples, and we kind of got fixated on these 6 dimensions, right? So when we think about health, we typically always just think about, do I physically feel well? Am I physically whole, right? But if you know how the body works, your physical health can only be, one part of you actually being well, right? So not just focusing on how you physically feel or physically look, how is your mindset? How are you mentally being able to process the capacity of things that are happening around you? Do you have the right support? Do you need additional support in order to process what's going on around you, right? As mothers from any area of, I call it the melinated spectrum, any area of the melinated spectrum, being overwhelmed is a real thing, right? You got a screaming baby. This kid has diarrhea. This one has a fever. You don't know what's going on. You don't have support. Excuse me. It can be mentally taxing, right? But if we're coming from communities or cultures that tell us to isolate ourselves or not to say anything out loud, or this is just a part of motherhood, or this is your baby, so you just have to deal with it, right?
Or like, well, you asked for this child. So
right.
That's deal with it.
You made the baby, right? But
right.
Anybody will be overwhelmed, right? So understanding how our mental capacity can affect our physical health, right? Also social. So social health and wellness is huge, especially going back to like we were talking about with isolation, right? So if I'm suffering and I don't know how to talk about it, I don't know who I can talk to, I'm going to isolate myself. I'm going to just, stay to myself. But what really will help and impact the way that I'm able to process things or cope with things is talking and leaning into another person that sees me for who I am and not my circumstances, right? So creating that safe, well space is social wellness and social health, right? Then environmental. So looking at the environments that we live in. Do we live in a safe space? Do we live in a place that is clean? Do we live by ourselves or with additional people? Do we have the things that we need within the places that we live in order for us to feel well, right? Then we have, so we've talked about physical, we've talked about mental, we've talked about social, we've talked about environmental. Yes, spiritual. So spiritual health, that can come from so many different ways, right? So the religious aspect of it, belonging to a church or belonging to a temple or a physical location. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's totally open, and I want to make sure everyone has the support that they need in that space. And then there's also spirituality, where you may not be tied to a physical building or a physical structure or even a physical being, right? But understanding that there's a higher power that is a part of who you are and helps you to stay grounded, but also give you purpose, that helps to balance out all of these other spaces, right? So making sure that you have connections with the people who can give you that groundedness, right? I have so many moms who are looking for church homes or who are looking for people who can understand how do I lean into a spiritual space without feeling like I'm converting to a different religion, or I'm unclear on what this means or how this can help me, right? And that's from any sect, right? So just giving them that space of, here are other people that can help you answer that question. And then last but definitely not least is occupational, right? So we talked about entrepreneurship, right, and entrepreneurship is awesome. I love it. It's one of my favorite things to do, right? But also understanding that some people want to learn how do I gain the skills to be promoted in the position I currently have? Or how do I find a way to get the educational tools that I need in order to get my first entry-level job, right?
So then that goes back to the advocacy, right?
Yes.
How to advocate for yourself and finding your roar and learning how to speak up for yourself. And, stick that chest up and be like, no, I can type 200 words a minute. Not me, but, but I'm saying I can file that stuff. I can listen. I can make a Gantt chart for you. How about that?
Yeah. And honestly, like, not even knowing that these are actual, like, employable skills, right? I'll give you an example. My 14-year-old daughter, she's now going to be doing like our social media management. So I have her doing all these different modules and
Yeah.
learning how to use Canva, learning how to use Hootsuite, learning how to use all these things. I'm like, watch the videos,
That's right.
look at how do you put together content, look at the behind the scenes stuff. Don't just look at the practical thing that people just see. You need to know how to troubleshoot things, right? It takes a while for you to actually create good content, and knowing how to make a post that may take you 3 hours the first time, but if you watch
Woo,
videos,
child.
it might take you 15 minutes, right? So
That's
she
right.
taught me so many things just in the small amount of time that she's started watching these videos. And she's like, Mommy, I'm really learning things. I'm like,
Okay. Wait. What's her Canva channel? Okay, she is Canvassador. Okay, I
we
know.
don't get there. We don't get there. She just started last week. But we
Okay.
don't get there. But even just seeing that, and then finding other trainings, finding different way. There's a content certification that you can get for free on like Coursera. Like these are all different opportunities that our kids as young as 10 and 12 and 14 can actually do. And by the time she graduates from high school, she'll have several certifications that she can put together a real resume and get a job, right? But these are things that
Get a job. She's not gonna be just over broke. She's gonna have her own business. Hello.
exactly.
Have her own YouTube channel, making her own little videos. Hello, come on. I
But,
say, right. I
sorry.
said to my sons, I said, yes, there you can be an employee and you can be an employer. You
Mhm.
can have your own business. You could be, I tell them you don't have to be like mom. I said I have a 9 to 5 and then I have a 5 to 1.
Yep.
But just know that the options are there, because when I was growing up, the term entrepreneurship,
Made no sense. Mhm.
you maybe you belong to a family that let's say if you were from the South, or I mean, Brooklyn. I'm from Brooklyn. I'm a Brooklyn girl. Maybe part of your family like owned a real estate, you know,
Mhm.
agency, or maybe they own like a little like a cafe or a restaurant or something like that. But this whole surge of, you know, large scale entrepreneurship that is not just brick and mortar, or
Right.
maybe it's like a clothing shop, right? Is or right, like that. Eatery, food, clothing, maybe
Product.
yes, some products, but like large scale franchises, not many. Not
Yeah.
many. Not many. So proud that we are a part of this generation who is teaching our children entrepreneurship, and not or,
Mhm.
and you can work for a company.
Right. Right. I honestly feel like you need both. There is harmony there, but you need both. You need to learn how to take direction as an employee in order to give direction as an employer. Right. So
Yes.
there are a lot of people that get caught up on, I just want to be the boss and make my own schedule. But like all of the investment that goes into actually being the business owner is much different than being the employee, right?
Ooh,
That return on investment don't always show up every 2 weeks.
that's right. That's
But
right.
the work and the consistency and the energy and the tenacity, that stuff still has to be there, even if you don't get that check, right? I might get a check tomorrow for $10,000. I might not get another check for 2 months, right? So you got to learn how to make those things stretch, right?
Yep.
But these are things that you also learn during your entrepreneurship journey, right? So I love to tell people I'm forever a student, because I know that there are a lot of things that I can do very well, right? But it's come from me doing these things repetitively over the last 5 years. It's come from me having trial and errors. It's come from me not having a good contract. It's come from me not having the right employees or employers or staff, right? It's come from me making bad deals. All those things were trial and error, and they were learning opportunities, right? So it was like, you got to learn how to pivot into the purpose that you're trying to make, and then from that purpose, that's where that profit's going to come in, right?
Oh, hold on. Say that again. I gotta write that down.
Not a straight line.
Pivot. Come on. Pivot into the purpose.
Yes, and then the purpose will bring the profit.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. I hope, listen, I
it's
hope
not a straight line. You got
yeah,
to put that part too. It's not a straight line.
that's right. Oh my goodness.
It's not a
Listen, I
straight
live
line.
it
It go
as
like
well.
this.
I live it as well. I mean, so one lesson that that I take to heart is, and it's very similar to what you just said, is I definitely am forever a student. There are certain let's say courses from sisters who are in this digital space like I am, who I've grown with. And in essence, they will put out a course, and I may have taken it 3 years ago. And I'm like, you know what? I think I just want to take it again. It's just like, Dorian, why are you back here? Because I think it's like learning scripture. I know John 3:16. I know Psalm 27:1. I know the 23rd Psalm. I know, Isaiah 53. But because of life, when I go to look at it again, or say it again, or recite it again, or try to explain it again, what happens between point A and point B? I've had experiences that help me rethink how that impacts my life
Right.
in a new way. And
Mhm.
so I'll take some, mini courses again, because I said I want to now do it again better with fresh eyes,
Right.
with new experiences, and how I didn't know that this one thing that I learned, I can apply it when you taught it to me the first time. I could apply it in 2 or 3 spaces. Now I'm like, oh, I could apply it in 6 and 7 spaces, like geometry and calculus. Really? Unless you're an architect. But
Mhm.
if you buy a DIY home, child, you better know that T square. You better know those cosines and those tangents.
Yep. 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 You got to know where to measure it, because Lord knows, don't ask me to measure nothing. But you're right. You're right. You're right. Um,
Right, right.
I think those are the valuable pieces that people tend to forget when it comes to entrepreneurship, right? What do you want? Oh, sorry. Excuse me.
Look, both and
Both, yes,
mommyhood and
and. Also, sometimes we're not ready for the messages that people tell us in that moment, right? So, um, you may take a course, you may learn a concept. You're like, I don't know, what am I going to use this for, right? Going back to geometry or calculus, right? What do I need this for? Until you get into the situation from the growth pattern, right? From that consistency effort of seeing like, oh, this is where this comes in at. Now I know what they were telling me. I wasn't ready to receive that message then, right? This just stayed dormant. And
right.
but
And right. And that's why I always talk about, like, in my work, plant. One of my tagline is "Learn to Grow You." Larry's Education and Resource Network, where I plant seeds to help you grow. And I
yes,
know I've said things to people, 4, 5, 6 years ago, and they're just like, "Oh yeah, like I remember you saying that." Okay, and now what? It's just starting to spring, like the bonsai tree. It took 5 years. I done planted you 5 years ago, but now it's spreading. Okay, fine. And I usually say to my own children, to my students, I said, my job is to give you the information.
that's
Whether or
it.
not you use it at this moment, not a problem, but I'm doing my job. Now, at some point, you're going to say, oh, she did say
Yeah,
that. Okay.
they get it. They
This,
get it.
well, one way or the other. One way or the other.
And like I said, like a lot of that helps us to create the different events and workshops and trainings. All of these things came from that organic engagement and learning more about the things that our community needs as opposed to what we want to put out, right? I think that's another misconception with entrepreneurship, where people think, well, I own the business, I tell you what you want, and this. And that's not it. You're actually driven by the people that gravitate to you, right? So your targeted audience and the way that they see themselves and what it is that you offer, they're going to continue to stay with you if you're able to provide more programs or services or products that speak to who they are as people, right?
That's
So
right.
like for us, one of the things that I'm so excited about, our
What's happening? What's happening? What's happening in the next couple of weeks? Where have you been and where you going? That's what I want to
everywhere,
hear.
everywhere. So this Saturday is our upcoming virtual support group. It's called Melinated Mommy Talks. So this is third year. We've been doing it consistently. It's every second Saturday of the month. We changed the time. It's from 12 to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Um, and we have so many like dynamic speakers and really great just lessons to share from the conversations that we've had with our moms, right? It's also that safe space that they need to just breathe and unwind and meet the other people who are here and there and everywhere, right? We have women that tap in from California, from New Jersey, from New York, from Florida, from Texas, from Arizona, from the UK, from Australia, and they'll all come into that space all with the same mindset of, I just want to have a community that looks like me. I just want to be able to connect and cultivate relationships with people I may not have ever met in my real life, walking around where I live, right? But if COVID didn't teach us anything, it taught us that our community is no longer defined by geography, right? So we've been able to find community in so many beautiful spaces.
You're
And
very
for me, like, our company, Melinated Moms, I really want people to know that we are everywhere. Melanated people are everywhere. We on every single continent. We're in every single country. We live there. We grow there. We thrive,
hello.
right? So having this platform and continuing to see it grow, it just continuously like gives me that confirmation that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm making the connections that we're supposed to, and it's just continuing to grow, right? So just seeing how many other like programs that just keep coming up from that. Um, our birthing my business course, birthing my business incubator.
That
I'm so excited about this. Today was our first day. So we're actually helping
you've
doulas.
been going. You've been going.
For real, like I don't even know how I'm awake, but we're teaching doulas how to create sustainable business models for them to not just go from client to client, but really learn how to build themselves as that entrepreneur, right? But also incorporate the same thing we're talking about, the health and wellness piece, right? So if you're supporting a mom or a birthing person through that journey from womanhood to motherhood or parenthood, you have to teach her how to be healthy, to be well, but also you as a business owner have to know how to sustain yourself and how to work not just from your heart, but also the hard part of the business aspect, right? So how do you keep your books? How do you make sure that your business is registered properly? How do
Right.
you make sure that you have the legal entities that are appropriate for the type of business that you run? What kind of revenue streams do you have that's going to continuously support you even when you don't have a client? So they're learning all of these new concepts and also applying that community aspect to it because it's a group, right? And learning how to pour into each other because there's always going to be times where we'll be stuck. We'll be like, oh, how do I get to that? And the class themselves will come up with the solution. And that to me is even more gratifying than anybody just being a part of a class, right? It's just seeing how much they want to see each other win. So they're like, if I can help you finish that sentence so that you can process whatever it is that you need to do, that I'm a part of your network, that I'm also invested in the work that you're doing,
And
and
I've got your back.
that's it. So like all of these great things just keep coming up, and I'm just so like I'm so proud. I'm very like grateful to be on this journey and to just have the opportunity to do this like every single day.
So one thing that I'm gonna pop in, how long did it take you to go from the solopreneur to
Mhm.
actually getting the staff to help you spread your wings and your reach to, other countries?
Yeah. Honestly, it's ebbs and flows. I feel like we've had support and staff for probably about 3-4 years. Um, but learning what type of staff or what types of
Mm,
support that I needed, that has been a roller coaster. Not even a bad one, but it's learning like as you grow, you have to have people who have more experience in certain areas. You have to know how to be clearer with your ask. You have to know how the person can grow with you, or and this I hate or if that's where their journey ends with you, right? And there's nothing bad about it, but it's also learning like as you grow as a business, everybody is not going to grow with you,
Right.
right? So
And not at the same speed, the same pace.
no,
And they may not, especially if they don't see where you're trying to go, if they don't have the same vision. And I'm learning as well, they don't have to have the same vision, but they need to try to be able to see your vision because they're
yeah,
trying to do the work to help you do this next thing. And that
yes,
thing can shift. And if they can shift with you, shift along. If not,
right.
then shift over to the side, like slide over because I'm going
Mhm.
to continue to go.
Yeah. And then we have so many people who are asking for opportunities to work with us, and we're like so grateful for it. However, I want to make sure that we're at a space of sustainability, um, so that they have the best experience with us, and so that we can support them as an employer, and as you know, as a place for them to learn. So this these next like two quarters, we'll be doing gradual hires to bring in more people that can help us with putting together the additional parts of this empire, because it's growing, honey. Listen, we were talking about all of 2022, all of the conferences and things we went to like 35 conferences. So to know from
It's amazing.
January to December, we were in 35 different conferences. That is a lot.
Well, it's like almost once a week
Yeah,
or 2/3, yeah, like 2/3 of the year.
it was nuts.
3/4,
I
3/4.
loved it, but it was nuts. It was nuts. It was
Wow.
absolutely nuts. But the relationship building, the networking, the learning, like just being
How I
in.
met you.
Yes, I know.
And look, let me just say that this may be the beginning. This is definitely not the end. Like
Oh, absolutely.
I'm feeling that there are going to be more intertwining conversations. Just because well, I'll chat with you offline. But like there's just other projects but I have connections and I actually have had conversations with doulas. And that's why I was like, oh my goodness, you're doing doula work. This is amazing. With midwives, with integrative holistic practitioners. And so that's totally involved in this. With one of my sister friends, and I'm going to make sure that she sees this, who was a teen mom. And so her business has to do with supporting teen moms. And she started a non-for-profit just to support teen moms. And so
Yeah.
just that work about it's motherhood, but it's motherhood at an age earlier than what people would think, quote unquote, they have it all together.
Yeah.
So just that work, which is just so empowering. It's so empowering. So last thing that I probably want to hop on is the sort of back to the health piece. And again, this is in part and parcel support of Good Health Wins and
Yes.
NCNW, National Council of Negro Women Flatbush Section, and NCNW in general. So you were talking about that there is a mom in a bus.
Yes. Yes.
So talk about that and yeah, let's talk about that. Let's finish up with that and then like some of the conferences that maybe you've attended. And then of course, how can we, because I know you're not, I'm a New Yorker. You across the water. You in Jersey.
I
Actually,
actually moved. I don't live in New Jersey anymore.
you live? Where'd you
I
go?
moved
I'm
to
sorry.
Maryland.
You even further away. Oh my goodness. Well, I definitely want to make sure that there are some NCNW sisters who are out there, who are where you live, who get in contact with you to
Yes.
just support you, to back you up, to have you come in and speak, share, or they can come and support you because the work is just so incredible. Well, let's talk about this mom the bus. I'm trying to remember the best word and
Yes.
see how we're integrating, again, health and wellness to support these mothers.
Absolutely. So actually at the height of right before they called the full pandemic, March 2020, the White House, or not the White House, sorry, in Washington, D.C., they actually held a conference where they released the Momnibus. So the Momnibus is a package of now 12 bills that are specifically around improving Black maternal health on a national scale, right? So these bills cover an enormous amount of areas. So community-based organizations being able to receive funding, addressing health disparities as an actual cause of maternal mortality and morbidity, data dissemination and collection, making sure that it is collected properly and it is analyzed by people who understand the culture and understand the people who respond and like these focus groups and things like that. Also, incarcerated moms. No one ever thinks about moms who are or women who are incarcerated who are pregnant and the inequities that they face. You know, there's still states that shackle women during birth, and yeah, and it's just knowing how much. I don't even want to get into it, but like there is a actual bill that addresses that and knowing how pivotal that is in terms of having support in such a vulnerable time. Um, there's also a bill about veteran moms. There's a bill about maternal mental health. There's also a bill about vaccinations, making sure that moms or pregnant people have access to proper vaccinations during pregnancy and after. There are so many amazing pieces of information that are incorporated into these 12 bills. And what people don't understand is these bills specifically address the disparities that Black women are facing in the United States with giving birth. But these bills also impact the way that the entire country gives birth, right? So if you look at the statistics around Black maternal health, mortality, and morbidity, there are states that have such high mortality rates that it makes you wonder, like, do you realize that we're in the United States? Do you like what's happening that you don't care about these women losing their lives at such alarming rates, right? For example, Louisiana, they're number 50. So it's the worst state you can give birth in the United States. And their governor actually went in public and said, well, our birth rate wouldn't be so bad if you don't count the Black people. This man said that, and he's still sitting in office. So to understand how pivotal that is, where this governor who is in charge of this entire state doesn't even want to count the people who elected him to be there, and Black people are 30% of his state. So you're telling us that you don't want us to count 30% of the state that put you in office? But how, right? So just again, this bill or this package of bills is incredibly important to be aware of and to create more visibility and awareness around, right? So Melinated Moms has been very, very involved from the state level, for the state of New Jersey, as well as from the federal side, learning more about how we can support Mom to Bus, teaching moms and birthing people about these legislative processes, how to talk to your local politicians, how to talk to your state representatives, and how to go into federal spaces, the White House and the like, to talk to our governors and our senators and these House of Representative legislators to let them know that I am a part of these statistics that you see on paper, right? So I tell my moms all the time, I am so tired of us living on these sheets of paper but dying in real life. I don't want you to count me when I'm no longer here. You know, one of my great favorite people, she's a great mentor of mine, Kimberly Seals Ehlers. She actually created an app called Earth, IRTH, that literally addresses women's lived or birthing people's lived experiences in real time. So you can download it. It's an app, and you can actually talk about your experience with a hospital or a midwife or a doctor. And that now has really been able to change the way that we use qualitative data to create better outcomes. So she's been able to take that data to hospitals and say, you have 15,000 people who've come here and said that they've had this exact same experience in your hospital or with these people or with this team. How can we work with you to change this, because here's the data. Because the doctor, hospital say we don't know why they said that. Well, here's the data, right? So
Wow.
understanding how pivotal that is, that's powerful, man.
So is it, so this is it?
Yes, yes, that's it.
Oh, that's beautiful. IRTH. Okay, IRTH, folks, download the app. That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I love it. So is where, of course, where can we find you, and what are like maybe the next I think you said that you're showing up on you're on another show or
Yes.
your own show. Let us know where we can find you, where we can keep finding you, and where is this show that you're going to be having and on and doing so we can follow you.
Yes. So you can follow me on any social media app: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, TikTok. My kid put me on TikTok. At Melinated Moms. So just
Right
as
there, Melanated Moms, right there.
you
Okay.
also can find us on our website, melanatedmoms.com. And we are now the newest host for Maternal, which is a Black maternal health focused podcast on iHeartRadio. So our first episode is now up. We had a season before, but I just recently joined, so you can definitely check out the episodes prior. But the newest episode is mine, so I'm super excited to be a part of this team. And we've been welcomed with such like amazing open arms. I even was able to take my kids to the studio, so they got to meet people and got to see the studios. Yeah, it was dope. It was dope. So I actually get to record there, and it's in New York City. It's really awesome. So
That's why you better come to New York City.
I'm so excited. So
Next time you come and let me know, I will meet you. I'll just be like, hey. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love
I
it.
will. I will. But like we talked a little bit earlier about the conferences. I've spoken at the majority of the conferences that I went to this year, and just knowing how much people are valuing even just what I have to say, but also the authenticity that Melanated Moms brings to these spaces. I'm just so grateful, and I appreciate you again for allowing me to be on your platform and to really just talk your ear off for an hour and 7 minutes.
Well, listen, as long as I got something to say, we can chat for a longer time. It's fine. It's fine.
I'm with
I,
you.
I am this so overwhelmed with all of the intricacies of of this business that you have built. This mom profit. I
Yes.
love it. Mom profit, social enterprise. Is that what?
Yes. So
Mhm.
we are a social enterprise, which means that we do work that impacts the community. So for the greater good of the community, but we want to keep our coin, and we want to make sure that we maintain the legacy behind why we built this business. So that's the difference.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's important for people to know. So I know personally, and whoever's, when you see this on the replay, if you know any doulas or midwives or people who are mothering, or maybe even, I guess, like what do I call them? Let's say birthing centers. I'm just thinking about all of the possible spokes that would be on your wheel of
Mm-hmm.
potential partners or partnerships, even the colleges and universities who are teaching, let's say, even early care, right?
Oh yeah.
So they, and of course any of our community organizations or social organizations, or like Divine Nine or those type of groups, however you want to support, if motherhood, or if women and children, if education, if entrepreneurship, if women's empowerment, if any of those, I guess, facets are part of your mission statement, they're a part of your pillars of your organization, they're a part of your agendas, right? From a federal, state, local level, then Melanated Moms is who you should look into, who you should shake hands with, who you should show up at a conference with. When you see Jaye Wilson, please find her at one of these conferences and be like,
I'll probably be there.
right, right. I mean, it definitely sounds like anything that has to do with advocacy, with women's support, with mental wellness, with parenting, motherhood, early education. Like, I'm just thinking of all the various conferences, that or symposiums and such.
Mhm.
TED Talks. Come on, get a TED Talk. Get a TED Talk. You know, that
I'm trying.
that
Really.
come on, Ted. Ted, she need to be there. Come on, Ted.
Come on, Ted.
Come on, Ted.
Yes.
So I want to thank you. I want to thank you so much for being here. And as I say to a few people have been on the show, this is your first time. It will not be your last time. I look forward to supporting you in some additional work that you're doing or whatever the newest thing that you're sparking off. I'm probably actually gonna like ask you back with other people who are connected, like doulas, like midwives who I've had on, or EI folks, just to sort of have that additional mom support. And I totally love the fact that you've taken mom and incorporated it into so many different facets or layers of the products and services that you offer in Melinated Moms. And that to me is just ingenious. I was sleeping last night and I'm like, wait, she did this with the word mom. She did this.
I love it.
Genius. Look, just genius. Just high five. Psh.
Wait, wrong way.
Other way. The other way.
Dang it. I can't. My hands. I don't know.
We'll work it out.
I'm sorry. I'm like, oh, that one.
There we go. Ready? Psh, I love it.
Like the opposite.
I know. So let's do our mothering thing. Let's take care of our own children. Let's take care of the other children who are around us. Let's be melanated.
That's it.
All in there. Let's give the voice to, and I will bring this back, because if it wasn't part of a dream that you've had, it's definitely a part of a vision that I have now. And the vision is of how Black women, in terms of the, gynecology, right, were operated on without anesthesia.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the statement, I can't even remember who the person was. I don't even want to call the man's name, but the person, I guess maybe is the father of
gynecology.
Yeah, gynecology. And I just remember the image and the statement that was made that like this mother doesn't need any anesthesia, or she doesn't feel any pain because they don't feel pain.
Yep. Yeah, and that's still a published thing. It's
right.
Crazy.
Right. And so you have taken that moment, even if it wasn't a literal step in your journey, but you've taken that moment and you've given voice, you've given power, you've given opportunity, you've given a shift and a paradigm shift in the thinking and the doing of motherhood, and how it does not have to be painful from the conception to the delivery to the rearing. But if it is, that Melinated Moms is there to support.
That's right.
Every step and every breath of the way. You can have that. You can have
I'll take that. Mic drop and sip.
What? Hello. Okay, folks. So this is a Learn to Grow You moment where I plant seeds to help you grow. I am so blessed and honored once again to have Melinated Moms, Jaye Wilson, to be the opening of season 3. That means we've been doing this for 3 years. I'm so blessed and excited. Well, officially three seasons. I've been doing this sessions before. But I'm glad that you started us off at the beginning of the year. And I'm excited to see what you're going to do next. Look forward to seeing you in places and spaces that I haven't walked before, but I will walk now as a result of you. To everyone who is seeing this on the replay, please, as I ask, stream team, you know what to do. Drop in additional comments and questions, and we will be able to respond to them, both Jaye and I, because I will definitely say, hey, Jaye, guess what? You got mail. And I will see everyone on the next go round. Please set your notifications, because we are on Facebook and on YouTube. So subscribe if you have not already. And I don't know why you haven't, but subscribe. And again, click the bell so that you can be notified. And if you have additional guests who you would like to see on the Doria Larry Show, then please, you know what to do. Send them any which way you can. And I'd be happy to have a chat and see, hey, what do you have special that can inspire people to live better than they did yesterday? Peace and blessings. It's a Learn to Grow You moment where I plant seeds to help you grow. And I will see you next time.